Little bumpy. 400 to the second. That's less than the blink of an eye. Round 5 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in the Engadin Valley high in the Swiss Alps. Welcome to St Moritz. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan in Sliders Paradise. Well, maybe on that balcony of Sliders Paradise, you can almost smell the bratwurst and the glühwein. Getting into our second and deciding heat in this St Moritz race. And John, wow, just an astonishing race coming up now.
Yeah, it's a combination of athletes who've got resumes. Mel Bardas, he's got a new brakeman with him, and he started late, like 29th position, and he rolled into a third place tie. Well, Mel Bardas is only about 70% coming off back surgery, but this young Oscars, Kieber Mattis, Matthias Minkins, well, they started pretty early, 14th, and he won medals in the last two World Cups, bronzes, and they were his first ever. This kid is slowly climbing up to the top of the leaderboard, but they're chasing these two German teams, Friedrich and Growth Cup here. They've won 3 straight events this year. Friedrich has. He's got a different brakeman every week, it seems like. And he won the World Championships on this track, 2013, and he's 0.3 of a second down, which is shocking to this Johannes Lochner, Christian Rasp. Well, Lochner's won the last 2 4-man bobsled races, his first ever gold medals of the sport, and his first trip down in training this week, he crashed. So we're astounded that he's 0.3 of a second ahead of everybody. And the rest of the field, 2nd through 5th, is this tight.
It is so tight. 2900s down to 4700s, 1800s of a second from 2nd to 9th. And on this track, anything could happen in the medals. I mean, even the leader could have a wobble. Look at this behind though. Tie for 11th, tie for 13th, 15th, 16th, 17th, just a couple of hundreds apart. This is going to be an epic second heat. St Moritz is a beautiful location. It's a beautiful track. It's got all the history, the character, and it has thrown up a scintillating race in prospect. Francesco Friedrich, the world champion on this track in 2013, hasn't won since and is struggling to match Johannes Lochner. And look how relaxed he looks, wandering around munching lunch as Friedrich warms up in the sunshine.
How about the guys who did make the cut? Justin Cripps of Canada, Cody Basque, and Justin Olson of the United States. Some big names did make the cut. Unbelievable.
Well, Nick Polignano did make the cut. Beat Hefty only just. They go first and second in our field of 20. 30 sleds started the first heat and completely safely completed it, but 10 got cut. So the fastest 20 go through reverse order. Johannes Lochner, the leader, will go last of all, defending a 2900ths of a second advantage, which in bobsledding and on this track especially is a lifetime. We could have a new two-man race winner in the next hour. But first, Nick Polignano, 22nd here last year, his only previous two-man race on this track. Derek Plug behind him. They made it into the race.
Yeah, they beat their teammate Justin Cripps and Jesse Lumsden by 0.3 of a second. If you would have told me that Jesse Lumsden and Justin Cripps wouldn't be in the field for the second heat, I would have bet a lot of money against that. Speed, look at that, 57 kilometers, keep track of that. There's a start time of 50 meters, and then there's this velocity out of the first curve of about 110 meters. Good telltale signs of how the athletes entered the sled.
So much of that is down to how the brakeman gets in, if he pushes forward on the sled as he's coming in, or if he hauls it back to pull himself in.
He's a famous curves, Nash and Dixon, named after the '64 Olympic Games gold medalists from Great Britain. Members of the St Moritz Bobsled Club. And these names, Telephone, Devil's Dyke, Shamrock, Nameless, they're all names that were given over 100 years ago on this track. This track, they've been sliding here since the late 1880s. And it's the only natural ice facility we have left on tour. It's a special, special place for athletes and even us broadcasters to come.
It really is.
106.22, 200's better than his first run. I do see the track speeding up. Later in the afternoon, it's getting warmer. Warmer temperatures brings a little film out on the ice. And we saw a bunch of track records in the first heat. I think we're going to see some here in the second heat.
You really notice it walking around. First thing in the morning, it's so frosty, you don't slip. By lunchtime, you're skating all over the place.
It's down below, speed part of the track. And you come out of Devil's Dyke, and that was a pretty good transition there.
Second ever race here for Nick Polignato, and he is the leader for the moment. Switzerland's Bert Hefty. Here's his resume in St Moritz in two-man alone. 2 wins, 4 silvers, 2 bronze medals. That's 8 medals in the last 9 years. He's 19th.
Twilight of his career.
Well, Sandro Ferrari, his brakeman, relatively new. Alex Baumann and Thomas Lampard are behind him, vastly experienced. But Sandro Ferrari landed in this like a sack of potatoes in the first heat and
did
does
it again.
A little smoother,
There. Look at this 5:14 start. Of course, they should be better now than Polignato. Look at, they do not have the same speed as Polignato. They were 200 separated to start, but the Canadians had a better load. And I just think that Ferrari, the way he jumps in the sled, puts too much pressure down on the sled. The energy going down is not out. And when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, it's crucial.
And as a result, he goes 200s back. What can Bert Hefty's knowledge of this track and a two-man sled do? He's in the Swiss-built Citius, has speed at the bottom. May need it. 900s back.
He had no speed in the first run either.
And this is behind a 2-year driver.
This is going to be a very angry Hefty. He's going to have to face a lot of Swiss media at the bottom. You can imagine how many Swiss media they have here. And this is one of their stars. But in the twilight of his career, Bert Hefty, I don't think I even want to see Bert in the next 24 hours. At that time, 106.46, 2,300 slower. Everybody here on this track from Switzerland, they're shaking their heads.
Yep. Unfortunately, they still have Rico Pater in their armory, but Bert Hefty starting to become an occasional bobsled driver these days. This is only his 3rd World Cup this season, and he'll be the first drive in a 4-man tomorrow.
Okay, now watch the sled come. Look at the runner tips as he steers to get off the curve, the outlet of the curve. Then there's the takeout of the next curve. There's an outlet of the, this looks like into gunner sleep. Yeah, little drift.
Well, Hefty, he's still got the passion for the sport, but the sport seems to be leaving him behind. And what about this man, Dong-Yeon Kim? 22nd last year, 19th 2 seasons ago, in 18th place at the moment. And his two-man season so far this year has been a little better. 6th and 7th in North America, 12th and 16th in Europe.
Ooh, look at the way, we saw that in the first run too. So start time, second best. The velocity, second best. He maintained not as good as the Canadians though. Both sleds since have had that 56.9 kilometers.
Let's draw a parallel with that. If you're a drag racer and somebody drops 100 kilos of potatoes straight into the back of your car, you know it's not going to accelerate any faster.
No argument from me.
That weight going down ain't going forward. 900s is the lead. It has slipped a little. Polignato could pick off another one here, and Kim is 9th in World Cup points.
Speed. Oh, he's pulling away now. Speed 110.5. That's great speed, which is 68.9 miles an hour. Now he's really rocketing away. He's Korean, the Hyundai sled, which is really a hybrid with the BTC. Flying on the bottom here.
2900s up, accelerating away.
Much better run for Kim in the second run than the first. 106.01, yeah, he's 1200s better. Canadian Polignato only went 200s better.
Not a huge improvement from either, but Nick Polignato picks himself up 1 spot at the expense of Bert Hefty.
Bert Hefty finishing 20th in the field. Well, how much would you have bet?
Making the field.
Let's watch the start. Now you're going to see a lot more starts before we're done here today. And watch the way the brakeman gets in the sled. Now, the old expression is cat-like movements. Tell me if you think this brakeman's getting in with a cat-like movement.
Yeah,
Boom.
a cat in a sack dropped from a third-story window.
That's a big cat that just dropped
That
in
is a
there.
big cat. All right, a lion in a bag. And well done for getting him in. Well, next up, Rudy Rinaldi for Monaco with Boris Van behind him. 20th last year. This is only his second race in St Moritz in the two-man. Monaco proudly celebrating 30 years of their bobsled federation this weekend.
Start wasn't bad in the first run. 5:15. Decent. Best velocity, though. The second best start time, but the best velocity. And Prince Albert of Monaco is here. They celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Monaco Bobsled Federation last night. We got a chance to attend the reception. That was after the Monaco historic race. Well, that was interesting.
Gap is down to out to 700s rather over Kim.
And Rinaldi did pretty good in the bottom part of the track. First run, speed 110 at least, or he's going to be in trouble. No, 109. Does not have the speed, and he did a couple taps on the entrance and exit.
Kim might move up one at the expense of Rudy Rinaldi. Needs to be super clean here in the high-speed parts of the track. Good line. Nice exit out of Sachs is absolutely essential.
Dead heat, he could have it. Better speed here, right to the 100. The first sled we're going to see close.
And it is a tie. Okay, well, we had 3 ties in the top 20 in the first heat. We have our first in the second.
Okay, they've got 2.2 miles in distance, and they're tied to the 100 to be second. Lovely.
We had a tie for third. We had a tie for 7th, a tie for 11th, a tie for 13th. That's 4 ties out of 20 sleds.
I love the ties.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go to a thousandth of a second.
No.
So he didn't have the speed, and the exit of Horseshoe was losing time, but...
Start draw number 1 of 30 sleds in the first heat for Chris Springer Canada might not have been advantageous. Neville right behind him. They got a 12th fastest start, came down into 16th place.
Had some of the best speed in the finish curve of anybody, and the Springer himself knew it. He knew he had a good run. And he's look at the knee brace. He's probably running about 75–80%. All of a sudden, he came over on the European trip and got off the plane in Dresden. His knee had all swollen up. Last week, he limped into the sled and didn't make the cut in two-man. And here he is. He was pretty impressive in the first heat. In down, let's see what Neville, Niall, the big man, got in there pretty quiet. Boy, he hit that first curve with a lot of pressure. 5:16 start, third best, but the first best velocity. So that means how quietly Neville Wright got in the sled with a power step, down quietly. That's why they had the better velocity than the Koreans. And the Springer really flew on the bottom part of this historic track. Nash and Dixon now into the most famous curve in the world, Horseshoe. Touches the lip. Speed 110 and change. Doesn't have it. 14 down to 4. Another too close to call. Down to 2. Well, another tie. Nope, he pulls it off by 300.
Exactly the same downtime as Rudy Rinaldi. He was 300s ahead of the Monegasque in the first heat. He remains 300s ahead of the tie, which is now for second. Well, Springer 13th last year, 16th the year before, 16th in the first heat.
He likes it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he just likes the thrill of driving the sled and hitting the lip at the most famous curve in the world. I don't know if he hit it. Looks like he just got up there and decided to get feather close to it. Look at the runner tips.
Nice work on the replays, Pogo. Chris Spring of Canada, the leader. 5 of 20 sleds down here in St Moritz. Alexis Stulnev of Russia, 15th after the first heat. 100th of a second in hand over current leader Chris Spring of Canada. Martin Haver and John Morgan watching as he drills the first corner.
Let's see what happens here. Sixth best start at velocity, of course, 56.4. He's down by 4/10 of a kilometer, which is about 1/10 of a mile an hour. And it doesn't sound like much when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds at the velocity part of the track. It means a lot. And that's brakeman.
Oh, rocky through Snake. Like he was in the first heat, really got height.
Well, but the Russian sleds, I said, were fast on the bottom on every track so far this season.
Gonna need to be. He's 1800s behind. He only had 100th in hand from the first heat.
Speed on the left, 110. There's some magic speed, but he just tapped on that Devil's Dyke entrance.
Chris Spring at the bottom.
Down to 1, here's the speed.
90.8 Chris Spring had miles an hour.
Good lines. This is better for Stolnev. He's been coming on 4th last week in Altenburg.
91.1 top speed for Stolnev through the speed trap. 1200s in front is 2200s in 3 corners.
91.2 miles an hour on the finish. Wow, I think that's the best speed we've seen all day. The Russian sleds have speed on the bottom of every track this year. Is it the equipment? Is it the drivers? Combination of both? I think it's a combination of both. Slanting to the drivers becoming really good. Up here in the Snake. How much of the Snake do you want to take? Well, you want to make it a rhythm. You see the heads moving around on there? It looked like he took too much of that first part of the S, but who are we to judge? How many times you driven Snake?
Only once in the back seat. Alexei Stolnev leads for Russia. Next up, Great Britain's Bruce Tasker, second ever two-man race here as a driver. He finished 22nd last year, didn't make the cut. His previous appearance here behind John Jackson, they only finished 21st in the two-man.
Well, the fastest man in Great Britain on the back, Joel Fern. He didn't get, he got in pretty hard.
Yep, bit of a skid there as well. They were in a dead heat for
best
13th.
Best velocity, they tied the best velocity. Polinato was 900 slower at the start, and these guys had the same velocity.
700ths of a second ahead of Stolnev after the first heat. They're currently 2200s up. But Stolnev had a neat ride. A little bit of height there in Snake from Bruce Tasker as well, out to 3800s.
This is a future for the British bobsled team. Tasker,
I think he tagged the woodwork there, but he got a great exit, still 3300s. Can he stay in the lead? 109.7, 68.2 miles an hour. Russians were up to 110.
2200s, he's coming back. Going the wrong direction, the speed on the exit of Horseshoe.
Skid here is going to kill the speed, but he's still got it.
700s, this is another one. Too close to call.
89.6, not enough, maybe. Oh, 500s behind. Speed wasn't quite there at the bottom. The Russians with 91.2, Bruce Tasker 90.1 miles an hour. So a full mile an hour slower, and that's aerodynamics as well as the drive.
105.97 the first run, 105.97 second run. That's consistent, but I didn't like the way Joel got in that sled at the top of the track.
And the third element, of course, is friction from the runners. Hits the lip here.
I don't see anything moving.
Sounded like it, but we didn't see the chalk dust.
I think you might be able to get a feather in there.
There you go, look at that.
Get a feather in there. Look at the runner tips, pull them off the curve, watch the transition to telephone.
Nice line, but the speed wasn't quite there at the bottom. Alexei Stolnev leads for Russia. Bruce Tasker in second, and Alexander Kasyanov, who tied to the 100th with Tasker, now at the line. So joint 13th, Bruce Tasker and Kasyanov. Now Alexander Zubkov here this weekend. Victoria Tokovaya leading the coaching team for the women and the men. 5:18 getaway, and that's quicker than their first heat, John.
Well, 8th best velocity though too. Kasyanov second place in Altenburg in the two-man competition with a 15th best start. And that's when I started saying the Russians have big speed in the bottom part of every track they're on. Didn't seem to have it in the first heat, but boy, Stolnev just flew down the track.
Only 2 men have won a 2-man race this season, neither of them in the top 3 in World Cup points, and our top 3 in World Cup points, Kazanov is 3rd, have only got 1 medal apiece.
Speed, 109.7. That's not the 110 speed that is what I call magical on the exit of Horseshoe. Still 33.
Don't forget that he was only 700s faster than Stolnev in the first heat. This is a much better run from Kazanov.
Losing time back. Let's see if we get the 90-mile-an-hour speed. 88.3, then to 90 right on the nose. 105.70, 2700s better. Very big improvement from the first to the second run there compared to the first.
But slower than Bruce Tasker and 1.2 miles an hour behind his teammates' top speed. Interesting stuff. He got a much better run in the top part of the track, though. Alexander Kazanov has the lead.
Horseshoe. This is where you want to exit with a slingshot effect. Crossover. Get on the take-on early like he just did there. You could see him almost leaning into the curve. Not as fast as his teammate on the right. Stolnev was beat him by a kilometer at the bottom. Mile an hour at the bottom.
Russians won 2 with a dozen sleds to come, and the next 3 are real big stories. Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic has raced here once in 2-man. He was 26th and didn't make the cut last season. This year, tied for 11th.
Awesome start in the first run, the second best start. Czechs never have starts like this.
3 sleds covered by 100th of a second, vying for 10th place. 5:08.
And the first best velocity, the first guy to get up there to mid 57.5. But he had a very negligible speed on the exit of Horseshoe that dropped all these green numbers down. See if he can be better than 108 kilometers on the exit of Horseshoe. That type of start, that type of velocity, you should be up on high 1.9s at the least. Let's watch it here. Oh, that's not good.
Little wiggle going down into Horseshoe. Medium line gets a good exit, but he doesn't have the speed of the Russian sled.
It's even worse speed than he had in the first run. So the Czechs will go back to the drawing board here and say, well, maybe we didn't have runners for the track.
Well,
ooh, late there.
Again, the runner technology is something that everybody's going to be looking at after this race.
4100's back. With that type of start, the best start, it's going to fall at least 3 or 4 places.
Well, the fairy tale is sagging
6
away a little. He's
places
7th at the line. Wow. Such a blinding first heat. A 105.93. That was a 106.24.
I mean, he's a young driver. Plus, give him some credit for the paint job on the sled. That's a graphics company up here.
Great looking sled and a stunning first drive from Dvorak.
Well, his first 50 meters is great. I look at this into Nash and Dixon. You think he got in there too early, and then that too early, then he comes with this.
Came off too early,
definitely. And then he came in, look at this. Then he's got this going. And you don't want to do that into the most famous curve in the world. He's just looking at it.
Well, with experience comes consistency. Second race weekend here for Dvorak. Tied for 11th after the first heat, Ugi Zalims of Latvia. Silver medalist here in 2015 in the 2-man. 100th out of a top 10 in the first run.
Good size of the guy in the back. See him get in, get down, cat-like movements, yes. 5'10", third best start. Let's see what the velocity number. Second best velocity. So good entry into the sled by the brakeman, a good negotiation of the first curve by the driver, and he's off and down the most famous track in the sport.
400ths of a second from the first heat over Alexander Kazanov. The gap is now down to just 800ths and shrinking. Down alongside the road into Horseshoe.
Speed on the left side of your screen, 110. No, yep, there's 110 speed. Even though he taps there at the entrance to Devil's Dyke.
That's pretty much equal to the fastest speed. This is going to be very close. The Russians 91.2 at the bottom.
That was Stolnev.
900's back, 88.9 miles an hour,
couple more
89,
taps.
not enough.
Second, 105.84. 900's better. Remember, Kazanov went 25 or 30 hundredths better in the second run. And Kazanov is up where we expect him to be. He's third in World Cup points.
Shouldn't have been down in 13th place, Alexander Kazanov. Worst result of the season is a pair of ninths, Whistler and Winterberg. So tracks beginning with W.
Little tap here. This is where the come out of Horseshoe, and you went into Telephone Shamrock, and then you get into the Devil's Dyke. And here between Martineau and Portago, a little tap. Not a good run for Zalmas.
10 down, 10 to come here. Alexander Kazanov leads from silver medalist 2 years ago, Uga Zalems. Stulnev third for Russia. You can see beautiful view here in St Moritz. Everybody skating down in that ice. That's the first time that's been iced in, I don't know, 20 years plus outside the Olympic Stadium in St Moritz.
That's where the 1928 Winter Olympic Games opening ceremonies were. And they've redone the buildings, and just another recreational opportunity up here dealing with ice and snow.
All renovated by Rolf Sachs, the son of Gunter Sachs, whose name is on the lodge at the top of the track and on the fastest right-hand corner on the track. And there's everybody up on the balcony at the Gunter Sachs Lodge, which will reek of bratwurst and glühwein and cigar smoke, undoubtedly. Stunning location here, high in the Engadin Valley. We always think we're high here. The track starts at 1,752 meters. We were walking up, having ridden up on a cable car, maybe another 500, 600 meters yesterday, and there was lights way up in the sky. And we decided, in fact, that there were too many lights for it to be a plane. It was a piste basher, so they are way up, well over 2,500 meters.
To our leaders.
Alexander Kazanov on the right. Alexei Pushkarev. Nominative determination. Pushkarev is a pusher, go figure. Lots of fans trackside. You get such a great view at this facility wherever you're watching. Down at the Horseshoe Bar. Let's turn the camera around at Horseshoe and show the crowd at the Horseshoe Bar, because that's always a great viewing position. You get a full 180-degree panoramic view.
Spectacular place. To, you know, you're sitting there right across the most famous curve in the world, Horseshoe, and you're watching sleds come through. You got a big screen down there. You got, you know, it's like a fraternity of people that are hanging out. The Alumni Association, you haven't seen them.
Welcome back to stunning St Moritz. Martin Haven, John Morgan with coverage of the deciding heat in round 5 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. 10th place after the first heat. One of the big stories is Maciej Lutia, Poland, with Krzysztof Tarkowski. 19th here last year. What a meteoric first run he had. I know their friend Agnieszka will be watching and wishing them well as they do her. Let's see if he can hold it together in the first, as he did in the first heat.
5:14, it's pretty good. Let's see the velocity. 9th. Ooh. He had the 4th best start, but the 9th best velocity. Looked like he squared that curve.
Sort of ran up the wall a little, and that will have taken some speed away at that low velocity.
I don't know what his personal best is, but I don't think he's ever finished in the top 10. And the Polish team, coached now by Jānis Minins, the former Latvian, who's won on this track before in four-man bobsledding, at least once, maybe twice. And now the speed on the left is going to be the telltale sign. 108. That's not very good speed.
Well, like Dominik Dvorak, he's slipping down as the Russians, who stumbled a little in the first heat, start to become resurgent.
And it was close. There's only 500 separating 3 sleds. So you have a little bit of a deficiency here. You could drop 4 or 5 places. Still, no matter what, it's going to be a great day for Poland. 4th best time in the run. 3rd, he drops to 105.97, 500's back. That's Minins on the right. He knows that's a good finish.
3rd with 9 to go, top 12. This will be his best ever World Cup two-man result.
Congratulations to Poland.
14th in Winterberg last time out was his previous best. Matthias Lutti, 19th here last year.
Look at the driver now. Look at he's leaning a little bit left. Look at the runner tips. Looks like he's diving out there. And look at the eyes. Look at the aerodynamic profile. Good job by Poland.
Good job indeed by the Poles. However, Alexander Kasyanov remains in the leader's box with Alexei Pushkarev, his brakeman. Now, Young Jong-won, our World Cup points leader coming into this race. 5th of 8 World Cups, the last of which, incidentally, Pyeongchang in Korea in early March. A 10th in front of Alexander Kasyanov after the first heat.
Now watch these two big men. Now watch the brakeman, the way he gets in the sled. I don't like the technique the Koreans are using to get in. That wasn't too bad compared to the other Korean sled. Best start, so they should have the best velocity. Second best velocity, 57.2. That's down to Dvorak, the Czech.
Well, the brakeman lifted the sled out of the grooves at the start, so that's energy not going forward, and then, again, landed with a thump in the sled at the end of his run.
Won the World Cup two-man title last season, was the World Cup leader as of a couple weeks ago. Slipped a little bit in Winterberg, and here in 9th place, he's challenged.
Here's Won's two-man results this season. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, and then 9th after the first heat here. He has the lead over Kasyanov.
Quite a big lead and a pretty good speed, not the best. He could lose 2/10 down here, but I think he's going to be the leader.
It will still not even match his worst results so far this season. He needs to pick someone else off just to get to 8th.
Probably teams here. He'll be the leader, though. Not the speed. There it is. Leader, but this is not a great day for the Koreans. You know, Eric Allard on the left, former French World Championship medalist in 1995. He's leading up the Korean program.
Well, they had a bit of a rocky load. They had a bit of an uncoordinated hit with the brakeman lifting the sled, but John, that wasn't their only problem.
Now in Horseshoe, look at how high he gets here. Now look at the runner steer now. He might get into that point a little late. Looks late. Now watch the runner tips. Let's see if you can see a lot of steering here when the sled comes down. There's an adjustment. Now look at the runner tip. Look at that. Now you can see him come down. You know, you got to go through there and steer, but you want to steer as least as possible.
You want to steer going in and not correct on the way out, yeah. 8 sleds to go in St Moritz, a tie for 7th position. Benny Meyer and Stephen Holcomb of the USA.
Meyer's going to need to pull out another great start, as he's been doing. 08, 09 in the first run, 07 here. Second best, third best start. Let's see the velocity. Second best speed, mission accomplished there. Good entry, good exit around the first curve. And Meyer, who's a rising star, one of these young guns. Won a world championship, won a World Cup silver medal here last year, which was his first. And he's had quite a pretty good month of January so far in bobsledding. And
career high of 4th position in two-man in Altenburg just a fortnight ago. Third in Winterberg last out of the four-man.
110, almost a kilometer better than the Koreans, which means he could catch him on the bottom, even though he had a 500s deficit. Down to 1. Speed, watch the, no mistakes here. That's a perfect exit. That's a perfect exit. How straight is he here? Ooh, a little tap, but he's 300ths in the lead. That's all
very close.
Should be 9 or 10 hundredths
Will he take it away from one? Yes, he does, but only by 300ths. Well, listen, one improvement.
Speed.
Last year in two-man, 15th. This year, guaranteed no worse than 8th.
Spider on the left. Franz Joseph Hoffman on the right. They're building a great program here. This is one of the young guns I refer to. This kid's got a lot of potential, passion for the sport. He's got some pretty good athleticism.
7 sleds to go here in St Moritz. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching as Carlo Valdez strips for action behind driver Stephen Holcomb. Holcomb taking the silver medal with Carlo in last year's race here. Lies tied for 7th, 45 hundredths off the lead.
Other two U.S. sleds didn't make the second run, Justin Olson and Cody Bascu, so this is the Americans' big hope. This is North America's big hope.
He's only 1300ths out of silver. Such is our leader's advantage from the first heat.
.521 in the first run, and they're going to have to milk every opportunity for velocity around this first curve. Carlos Valdez in, not bad. Let's see the speed. 12th best start. Let's see the velocity. 11th best speed. He's got a real obstacle to overcome to deal with the Austrians, who are 10/100ths better at the start. But Holcomb won a silver medal in this event last year on this track. Ooh, that was a lot of the S. 20/100ths down. 300ths. Top speed, 100.
91.1, right up with the fastest, 92 miles an hour.
5:45, that's 4/10ths better than he did in the first run. That's the biggest improvement from the first to second run we've seen so far.
A 1:05.45 would have left him 500ths of a second off the leader in the first heat.
92 miles an hour in a bobsled with no shock, real suspension system. And watch this though, this was a little suspect, but maybe this is the fast line. Get high early, cross over, get high late, or high early there. But on the bottom part of the track, a little nick here. First person to get to the 92 miles an hour speed.
Sepp Plotzer with him. That was a great drive from Holke. Puts him in medal contention, as everybody else is now. Switzerland's Rico Peterlei, second in the World Cup standings. Worst result, 10th. Best result, silver medal in Whistler. 17th in the two-man here last year. 6th after the first heat.
5:18, first run. They got to do better than. Oh, bad skid. They're all done. History.
Wow.
Something, the brakeman got in there, something, but it's over. 50.
He must have hit the side of the cowl coming in sideways.
Something happened there, but the Swiss have had, this has got to be the most disastrous day for bobsledding in St Moritz, Swiss's history, because he's going to drop 4 or 5 spots.
And he was only 600ths away from silver.
He's going to drop 15 spots, maybe, which Hefty's going to finish like 20th. He could finish like 17th or 18th.
Yeah.
This is one of the greatest bobsled powers in the world. And this is tough to watch.
And it shows how difficult it is to be this good. You know, it's like watching an ice skater fall. You suddenly remember exactly what suspended animation they're in.
He's coming back, 13. He might get it up to 11th, but he's going to drop 10 places. Speed is great. I mean, he's finally got, 90-mile-an-hour speed in the finish, but, oh, boy. 14th best time, drops 9 spots. Holcomb, I don't know if that's the way you want to beat somebody, but I'm sure you'll take it.
Well, they beat themselves, and that's the thing here. You can't affect anybody else's race. They can only do it themselves.
Listen. Looks her over at the brakeman like, what happened?
He's going to watch the replay the same as us. I know what they're going to show us.
Frustration there. Let's watch. Look at the drive lines. The drive lines end is where the problems exist.
Watch when Baumann gets in.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's not Baumann, is it? Oh, see, he got in right at the end. There's a little gap there. No one's done that.
Look at that.
Oh, look at him put his head down. Or was it in the D-rings? He's still looking for his D-rings.
He is still looking down. Were his handles crossed?
Boy, not a good couple weeks for Rico Peter.
5 to go in St Moritz. The yellow nose of Nico Valtersled, bronze medalist last year, and he was 400ths out of silver in the first heat.
13 in the first run. Eric Franke and the brakes, his debut in a two-man. 15 in this run. Velocity, well, they should be 8th. 14th. Not very good velocity, the same as he did in the first run. But he was flying on the bottom part of this historic track.
FES two-man sled for Nico Valter. And he really kind of turned his season around last weekend with a good result in the four-man. And that confidence comes right back and is paying itself off in spades here.
Exit a horseshoe. Crucial. Speed on the left. Under high 9 or a 10, he's going to be in good shape. 10 flat. He went down from 21 to 1400s. Holcomb at 2 kilometers better speed down here. Down to 900s. This is going to be another close. Too close to call.
He had 1200s over Holcomb from the first heat. It'll be down to
3.
Oh my goodness, he's getting behind.
I don't think he's going to do it. He tapped there. No.
Yeah, baby.
Look at Rennie Speeds. Come on, he says.
Listen, when you got 7 sleds covered by 1200ths of a second, it's all bets are off. This is a one-heat race. First heat just decides the starting order.
Start velocity wasn't good either. And Eric, I'm good friends with. I'll bring that to his attention when I see him.
He'll stop being good friends.
Look at the runner tips. He's high early. He's controlling where he wants to exit, but he does not have the speed that Holcomb did. Good. Nico, look at that smile on that guy. Former loser.
Stephen Holcomb leads with 4 sleds to come here in St Moritz. Tie for the bronze medal position after the first of 2 heats in the 2-man race. Oskars Melbardis, who won the 2-man race on this track 2 seasons ago, tying with his namesake Oskars Kibermanis for Latvia. Well, these guys, 0.3 of a second off the lead, 1500s ahead of Stephen Holcomb.
07 start too in the first run, 06 there. The velocity's got to be good. Yeah, 9th best velocity. That's equal to Holcomb's velocity.
Again, running up that kink in the first corner seems to be taking a lot of speed out of the sled.
And this Latvian sled went 28th in the first run, which was a big advantage to go late on this all-natural track. 25, he's opened up a lead to 35. That's related to the start.
Well, Melbardis won here in the 2-man 2 seasons ago when he was winning everything in 2 and 4. Last year, only 10th.
Speed in the left. He's got to have 110 at least. 109.
Gaps coming down.
2.5 kilometers faster.
There'll still be 3 sleds to
Down
come
to
after
15.
this.
That speed in the exit horseshoe that Holcomb had could be the variable that gives him a medal.
92 miles an hour for
Not
Holcomb.
gonna do it.
89.
Holcomb's going to get him again.
485. No. Holcomb turns him over.
Look at Sanders Prusis.
Still, the Latvians have 1 sled in the top 3. There are still 3 to come.
And this guy coming up, Kibermanis, had the best start in the first run. In fact, broke the start record. So Holcomb to get to 4th is an amazing effort considering his start time is so deficient.
Well, Melbardis, after surgery on his back, missed the first half of the season, but he is back with a bang.
Here, look at that, see where his head slapped a little bit. He got in there late into Dixon. Now this is in the horseshoe. And this is where you slingshot to the bottom, and he didn't have the speed. On the bottom, this tap here didn't help. That's down into leap. But he's operating at 80% with the back surgery he had. It's only his 3rd race back. This kid here.
3 to go in St Moritz. This for the medals. 2nd and 3rd after the first heat was separated by 100th. Oskars Kibermanis was 3rd. Stephen Holcomb still our leader.
Could see sub 5 seconds here. 5 flat. Watch this velocity. 57. 58.1. First person to go over the 58 mark in this run.
That's 36 miles an hour.
So the velocity's there, the best start's there. He's won 2 medals in the last 2 events in Altenburg and Wittenberg. His first 2 ever World Cup medals. This another one of the young guns, 22 years old.
Stephen Holcomb was 7th in the first heat, currently leads.
Oh, it's 4,500s now. So if he has 108 speed, Holcomb might have a chance.
Gaps coming down.
110, he's got good speed, even with that tap there.
Holcomb was 2 kilometers an hour quicker.
It's going to be down in the 20s here. There, he's going to win. by 12, 15 hundredths.
Ooh, little late, little rocky.
Big hit there.
Tap into Sachs and a drift down the wall and a skid.
Ted,
It could
no.
come back. Holcomb could be in the
Wow.
medals. Keeper-Manis is going to be very close for the bronze.
No.
Out. Holcomb is in the medals from 7th in the first heat.
That's just driving air in the bottom part of the track, and how perfect Holcomb was.
Last year's silver medalist still leads with 2 to go.
Holcomb, I think it's safe to say he could still drive a bobsled. He had the 21st best start time in the first run. Second run, he's got the 16th of 20, 16th of 18th best starts. Down below here, he was late. He just lost it all right there. I mean, those 2 mistakes, that's in leap. Now this is exit of Gunnar Sachs. Couple bumps here. Second hit. He's a young gun.
And top 4 still covered by 700ths of a second. 2 to go. Francesco Friedrich has started 3 two-man races this year. He's won 3 two-man races this year, but he lies 29 hundredths off the lead.
Look at the brakeman's eyes.
Martin Grotkopp, look at his beard tucking out the bottom. World champion here, 2013, Friedrich. Bronze, 2014. Didn't take a medal on this track in two-man last year.
Ooh, skid.
Whoa,
Track
whoa, whoa, whoa.
record, 499, but he should have the best velocity, right? No, he doesn't. 54/10 of a kilometer down because of that little altercation there with the first curve.
He's wriggling all the steering.
He's won 3 straight races this year that he's been in. 3 golds, and he's got a ridiculous 3,400ths lead now on Holcomb.
Half a second at Sonny. He has to take the lead from Stephen Holcomb.
Well, he's going to need at least 110 and change and perfect lines in the bottom. Holcomb manufactured all sorts of speed here. There's 112 too, so he's going to pull away. Better speed than Holcomb, and this might be the greatest superstar two-man bobsled driver that we have on the planet right now.
Friedrich looking for his 3rd straight two-man win, his 4th of the season out of 4 starts.
Some mistakes there.
And that might not get him a gold medal. It'll put him in front of Stephen Holcomb. Ratley at the bottom, though.
Track record, 105.22. Whoa, 47 hundredths better. Rennie Spiess is a little happier with that run.
Well, he needs it because he was 3/10 back after the first heat.
Start record at the top, start record at the bottom. Good chance of you winning the race when you do stuff like that. But I didn't like the way Grotkopp got in here and the sled goes to the left side of our screen. Watch the nose. See?
Yeah, Friedrich didn't have his hands on the D-rings, did he?
Look at the steering here. Look at watch his steering. He's trying to get a hold of the ring. Look at that. He's trying to do that old East German trick where you flick it to stop the skidding. That's why he had the best start, but the 2nd best velocity and hung on.
Got a big skid out of turn 1. He leads, looking for a hat trick. But Johannes Lochner, 2 straight wins in 4-man the last 2 race weekends, has never won in 2-man. 29 hundredths of a second lead in the first heat over the man who won the 2-man world championship on this track 3 seasons ago. 4 seasons ago now.
Christian Rasp on the back. They only had a 5:06 in the first run, 4th best start. Nice clean entry into the sled. 5:09, way off. Way off. But they have the 3rd best velocity, similar to what Friedrich had. So even though they had a worse start, their velocity equaled out. And he's got a 3/10 lead. Only a couple of taps on the wall up here to prevent him from leading at the bottom.
1900s, well, that's the start, taking him from 2900s down to 1900s, because Friedrich started a 10th quicker, but that means that in driving terms, he's equal with Friedrich here.
Speed on the left, 112.2, 112.7. No one's got near that. This kid's got some rockets in this sled, like he does in the 4-man, where he's won the last 2 4-man bobsled races.
5th here last year. This is only his 2nd weekend in St Moritz in World Cup.
He crashed in the first heat of training.
Friedrich going away to win his 1st ever 2-man gold medal at the greatest track on the planet. 105.23, 100th away from the track record, but he wins going away. Gold for Lochner, silver for Friedrich.
Another young gun, 25.
Yes, baby, that's not German. Now, we call this the greatest track on the planet. Next week, he goes home to Bavaria, to Koenigsegg. Look out for this kid.
He's got 3 gold medals in 4 races in the last 2 weeks. Well, we got tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
3 gold medals in the last 4 races that are going tomorrow.
Friedrich, the first to offer his congratulations.
Look at that guy. What a sportsman Friedrich is.
And Nico Walter in 4th place. Only Stephen Holcomb preventing a German sweep in two-man. No wonder Rennie Spies is looking happy again. German bobsledding looked like it was down and out after 2014. Boy, it's resurgent. There's Holcomb, bronze medal this year, silver last year.
How can you not like this young lot? I mean, unbelievable. Start, well, not the best.
But they knew clean was important, and maybe that's what they went for.
They had good velocity. Then down here, ooh, he was real rough down the bottom part of the track, but he had the best speed on the exit. These brand new sleds he's got from Walner, wow, he's been flying. He's won 2 consecutive golds and 4-mans, won this 2-man event. He could go for 3 straight gold medals tomorrow.
First ever 2-man win a fortnight after his first ever World Cup win of any kind. Francesco Friedrich 2nd, Steve Holcomb 3rd. Just easing out Nico Walter by 200s. Keeper Manis and Mel Bardis 100th apart, 5th and 6th. Another big result for Benny Meyer. Kazyanov 9th, just behind Yun Jung Won. Rico Peter out of the equation. So who is going to be our World Cup points leader? Friedrich will be very close.
She's missing a race in Lake Placid.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, they figured testing the sleds was more important, and I think they've got some answers. German bobsledding is back on target.
Well, we've seen some pretty good racing today.
Would we have picked that winner? Would we have picked Holcomb for bronze? Keeper Manis and Mel Bardis tied by 100th? I don't know. There's
we picked that Canadian skeleton athlete to win by 1.8 seconds. We picked Ilana Myers to win by 100th of a second this morning over Kaylee Humphreys.
And listen, let's round out a couple of our sort of big highlights. Mattis Luthi, 11th place in the end. That was a really big result for him.
Personal best.
Yeah, Bruce Tasker 13th. Rudy Rinaldi slips to 16th. Dominic Dvorak to 18th. But those guys hovering around the top 10 on one run. A bit of experience and consistency will have them in the top 10 on 2 runs, just like Benny Meyer is these days.
Yeah, they all beat Beat Hefty. How about that?
Everyone beat Beat Hefty. 20th place for Hefty. And Rico Peter with that huge, I mean, he almost was in reverse out the first corner.
He had a terrible 4-man last weekend.
Down to 15th.
Weather-induced problems, so I'm starting to feel a little sympathy for Rico Peter, what's happened to him. But Holcomb, you know, the track in Korea, it's going to be about 1,450 meters. Going to have an emphasis on the start. Holcomb, what do you have in this heat? He had the 18th of 20 sleds best start. No one can do that.
But what's happening in Korea? Yun Jung Won, World Cup champion in 2-man last year. Here's his results in 5 races this year. Bronze in Whistler, 4th in Lake Placid, 5th in Altenburg, 8th in Winterberg, 8th in St Moritz. That's not progression in the right direction.
There's a little turmoil going on in that Korean team that we won't talk about on air, but you know, when it happens when you get good. You know, when you get good, there's a few taxes about being successful in any sport.
And of course, just over a year ago, they lost their talisman, their coach, who really guided and formed the entire team, Malcolm Lloyden. Maybe Eric Allard, coming in as a newcomer, is finding it hard to really keep them cohesive and focused. A big day in St Moritz for Johannes Lochner. He claims his first win. Francesco Friedrich vaults to 2nd as Holcomb moves up to 3rd. Big changes in the World Cup 2-man rankings. Yun Jung Won still leads, but Rico Peter from 2nd down to 5th position. Nico Walter moves up as Justin Cripps slips. Keeper Manis moves up, and so too does Oscar's Mel Bardis after his 3rd race in the season, up to 23rd as Beat Hefty slips down to meet him in the opposite direction. So all sorts of changes going on, new names to conjure with in the 2-man World Cup, and today our first-time winner, Johannes Lochner from Bavaria.
Well, different brakeman than he had last couple races. Joshua Bloom usually, but you know, crashed his first heat in training, shocked everybody. And then what does he do? He comes out, has a
shocks everybody again.
and he wins the race.
There you go.
So, you know, what can you say about this young gun? There's 3 or 4 of them up there in the top 6 of the leaderboard. Holcomb's the only one that's not the young gun there anymore. But
well, and also the only one that's not German there. Holcomb and Carlo Valdez bronze, Francesco Friedrich, Martin Grottkop silver, and Johannes Lochner with Christian Rast taking his, well, both of their first World Cup victories.
No flowers here in St Moritz. They give out some mum champagne.
It's a tough swap, but I guess it'll do. So Johannes Lochner, Francesco Friedrich, Steve Holcomb, your top 3. And plenty to celebrate for Lochner, but not just yet, because the blue ribbon event in St Moritz, the 4-man bobsleigh, still to come on Sunday. Join John Morgan and me, Martin Haven, with the IBSF TV crew trackside here in St Moritz for all the 4-man action. Starts at 09:30 GMT, 10:30 local, Sunday morning. We would love to have your company. Until then, from St Moritz, it's Auf Wiedersehen, Arrivederci, ciao, goodbye.